For 1,000 years, the galaxy had known only peace. No wars, no battles, not even small skirmishes. The stars were calm and the planets quiet. Trade flowed between systems. Cultures mixed. The Galactic Council, made of 72 different alien species, ruled over this peace with pride. They believed war was gone forever. Forgotten. A thing of the past. But peace can be a lie. And silence can hide terrible things. The Galactic Council was proud of itself. After the last Great War, they had created new rules, new laws, and new systems to stop violence. Disputes were solved through votes, not weapons. Soldiers were now diplomats. Warships were turned into museums. Generations of aliens had grown up without ever seeing a gun fired. Most thought war was something only old history books talked about. They forgot about humanity. 1,000 years ago, during the last Great War, humanity was feared, not for their numbers, not for their size, but for their will. They fought like fire, burned like storms, and smiled in the face of death. No other species could match their hunger, their rage, or their courage. The Council begged them to stop fighting. When the war ended, humanity vanished. They cut themselves off from the galaxy. No trade, no contact, no ships. Some believed they had gone extinct. Others hoped they had. Now, something strange had appeared at the edge of Council space. A fleet, massive and silent. Black ships, shaped like broken swords, floating like ghosts. They sent no signals, no names, no warnings. They didn't answer calls or respond to scans. They moved slowly, system by system, planet by planet, and wherever they went, nothing survived. Entire colonies went dark. No distress calls, no survivors, no wreckage. Just silence. At first, the Council thought it was a mistake, some kind of disaster. Maybe a black hole? Maybe a virus? But then the pattern became clear. The Black Fleet was moving with purpose. They didn't attack military bases or strategic targets. They wiped out small, quiet planets first, testing the Council's response. Panic spread quickly. Old meetings were restarted. Emergency councils were formed. But they had no army, no weapons, no warships. The Council was afraid. The last war was so long ago that no one alive had ever fought. The newer species had never even trained for war. Fear spread like wildfire. Every species began blaming the others. Some wanted to surrender, some wanted to hide, others simply froze. Then someone remembered humanity. They were still on the edge of known space. Their worlds were closed, their systems locked behind heavy firewalls, but their planets still glowed with life, their satellites were still watching, and their ships, yes, there were still ships, floated in orbit like sleeping beasts. The Council sent a message. They begged for help. Humanity answered. A single human ambassador appeared on the screen, dressed in black, face calm, eyes sharp. Behind him, the old Earth flag hung. Stars and stripes, faded, but still proud. The Council leader, a tall insectoid named Vrukel, spoke first. "We are under attack. Unknown ships, unknown technology, no survivors. Entire systems have fallen. We need your help. Please. The galaxy needs your strength again." The human ambassador listened quietly. No emotion, no nods, no movement, just silence. Then he smiled. It was a small smile, controlled, cold, but it wasn't a smile of kindness. It wasn't friendly. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for this moment. "We thought this day might come," the ambassador said. His voice was calm, almost soft. Peace was never permanent. It was just a pause, a breath before the storm. We remember what the galaxy forgot. The council members looked confused. Some looked angry. "Why are you smiling?" one shouted. "Our people are dying!" The ambassador leaned closer. His eyes were sharp, full of something the others couldn't name. Not joy, not hate. Something deeper. "We are smiling," he said, "because war has returned." He paused. "And we were born for it." The screen went dark. The council chamber was silent. Not one leader knew what to say. Fear hung heavy in the air. But far away, on the cold surface of Mars, lights began to flicker. Deep underground, giant hangars began to unlock. Old machines roared to life, machines built 1,000 years ago but never forgotten. Not by humanity. Across Earth's colonies, warriors stepped out of deep sleep. Cryopods opened. Armor was powered on. A name lit up across all military screens. Operation Black Dawn. The storm had begun, and only humanity smiled. They called it the Ghost Fleet. No name, no flag, no warning. Only black steel and silent death. The fleet moved through the stars like a shadow. Systems went dark one by one. First, the small outer colonies, then the trade, routes. No one saw the attacks happen. The only clue left behind was the silence. Entire planets stopped sending signals. Patrol ships vanished. Satellites stopped responding. There were no distress calls, no escape pods. Just empty space. The Council tried to track the ships, but scans showed nothing. No energy signature, no life signs. The Ghost Fleet didn't match any known alien technology. Not even the oldest records held a match, and that terrified everyone. Inside the council hall, panic had replaced order. The insectoid diplomat Vrukel shouted at the others, "We are blind! We are deaf! These ghosts strike and vanish!" A four-eyed reptilian general growled, "This is not war, it is a hunt, and we are prey." The fear was real now. Even the bravest species, those born on volcanic worlds or hunted by beasts, had never seen such quiet destruction. But while the council argued, humanity was preparing. On Earth's surface, old bunkers opened. Red lights flashed across military zones that hadn't seen daylight in centuries. Massive underground silos, once buried and forgotten, roared back to life. In orbit, sleeping ships woke. Old and massive, their armor was scarred by past wars, but they were still dangerous. Each one was a war machine, designed not for show, but for survival, for killing. The humans called them Dread Steel-class ships. Each one had names that echoed through their bloodlines: Vengeance, Honor-Bound, Ghost Hammer, Ashen Sky, and above them all floated the Obsidian Wrath, a supercarrier the size of a moon, silent for 1,000 years. Captain Talia Morrow stood on its bridge. She was a legend, a soldier born just before the last war ended, now kept alive through cryosleep. Her face was marked with time, but her eyes burned with sharp purpose. She stared at the display screen. Red dots blinked. Enemy systems lost, one after another. "They're testing us," she said quietly. A young officer, wide-eyed, asked, "Testing us for what, ma'am?" Talia turned, lips tightening into a half-smile. "They want to know if we're still human." The officer didn't understand. Talia continued, "Humanity doesn't fight like others. We don't run. We don't hide. We end wars." Her voice echoed across the command deck. Far from the fleet, on a deep space relay station near the neutral zones, a small alien crew watched nervously. They had picked up fragments, strange signals in a dead frequency range. A forgotten human band. "What is it?" asked the communications tech. The commander frowned. "I don't know. It's old human code." The screen blinked. A single message appeared. "The silence is broken. We are awake." They didn't know what it meant, but deep inside they felt a chill. Back in Council space, the Ghost Fleet had reached the Illyria system, home to over 30 million civilians. The defense grid there was weak. It hadn't needed upgrades in centuries. Illyria was peaceful, Quiet. Now, it was the next target. The Council begged for help. This time, Earth answered with more than words. The Vengeance, Ashen Sky, and Ghost Hammer jumped into Illyria's orbit. The Ghost Fleet was already there, dark shapes like giants floating in silence. No communication, no warning, just two forces facing each other. Then, the first shot was fired. It wasn't from the Ghost Fleet, it was from Vengeance. A beam of white-hot plasma tore through space and struck one of the black ships. The impact lit up the system like a star. Silence followed. Then everything exploded. The Ghost Fleet moved fast. But the humans were ready. Missiles, cannons, EMPs, kinetic rounds, ancient weapons, updated and deadly. Human ships didn't dance. They roared forward like beasts. And for the first time, the Ghost Fleet didn't win. 3 enemy ships exploded. 2 tried to retreat. But Ashen Sky chased them, weapons blazing. The battle was fast, brutal. When it ended, Illyria still stood. Millions of lives were saved. The Ghost Fleet had lost. In the council chambers, the news arrived. The first alien to speak was Vrukel. Humanity held them back. A silent pause. Then someone whispered, "No. Humanity didn't just hold them back, they sent a message." The council was silent. For the first time in 1,000 years, one truth echoed in every chamber, every mind, every species. Humanity had not forgotten war, while the galaxy had enjoyed peace. Earth had remembered. On Earth, deep within the war. Archives, a secure facility buried inside the Andes Mountains, an old AI stirred. Its name was Argo. Once shut down by peace treaties, it had been reactivated by the emergency code, Red Level, Total War. Inside Argo's vast memory banks were records of battles long erased from Council history, forgotten names, unspoken horrors, secret enemies. Talia Morrow stood before its giant holo display. "Tell me everything," she ordered. The AI's voice was cold, calm. "Confirmed. Retrieving historical event. The Devourer conflict, classified. Under Operation Ashfall." Talia narrowed her eyes. Operation Ashfall? The screen lit up with old footage, grainy, flickering videos of black ships attacking planets. Civilizations turned to dust, ships torn in half, screams, silence, fire. They were the same black ships as the Ghost Fleet. But back then, they had a name. The Devourers. They weren't just pirates or invaders, Argo explained. They were created, built by a long-extinct race known only as the Nullkin, a machine species, cold, logical, merciless. Talia leaned forward. "I thought the Nullkin were myths." "Negative. They created the Devourers as planet killers, a perfect war fleet. But when the Nullkin died, their machines didn't stop. They evolved. They became their own force, and humanity had fought. Them alone. The Council never knew. Back then, the galaxy had looked the other way. Earth was young, loud, violent. So when the black ships came, no one helped. Humanity had stood alone, and still, they won. But at a terrible price. Half of Earth's colonies were destroyed. Billions died. Whole continents were turned to ash. In the end, the last warship, the Obsidian Wrath, had led a suicide strike into the heart of the Devourer fleet. Only it had returned. Damaged. Silent. A tomb with survivors in cryo. Talia was one of them. "That's why we remember," she whispered. Humanity hadn't vanished into peace. They had vanished into preparation. Meanwhile, in deep space, a surviving black ship drifted into the Karath Nebula. It had been damaged in the Illyria battle. Inside its silent halls, machines crawled over broken walls, rebuilding, repairing. At the ship's center, a glowing orb pulsed, a command core, and it was learning. It had recorded the human battle tactics. The ship's databanks played the footage again and again. It adapted, changed its algorithms. This was no ordinary AI. This was a hive mind. It sent a signal, a deep frequency pulse. In the darkness between galaxies, others answered. A second fleet, larger, faster, smarter. The Ghost Fleet was only the beginning. Back on Earth, the Council had sent envoys. Fear now replaced arrogance. Where once they mocked humanity, now they begged for help. In the old war room, 12 species gathered around the same table with Earth's leaders. The frog-like ambassador of Groll 10 croaked, "Why didn't you tell us this enemy existed?" Talia Morrow's face hardened. "Because you didn't care 1,000 years ago. You laughed while we burned." Silence. A feathered alien diplomat whispered, "And now?" Talia looked each of them in the eye. "Now you care because they're coming for you." She tapped the table. A star map appeared. Dozens of red dots blinked across it. Ships on the move. They are not just attacking random systems. They are following an old pattern. "What pattern?" someone asked. "Systems once protected by Earth. Colonies we abandoned when you forced us into peace. They're finishing what they started." A second officer added, "And if we fall this time, they won't stop at you. They'll consume the galaxy." Outside the Council station, Earth's fleet continued to grow. The old guard had returned. Veterans from Cryo, AI-driven dreadnoughts, stealth ships older than most species. Human engineers worked beside Council species for the first time. Weapons were shared. Armor was upgraded. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy was preparing for war. But still, questions remained. Who awakened the Ghost Fleet? Why now? And if the Devourers were truly machine-born, who gave the order to return? The signal came from deep space, beyond the edge of known systems. It was faint, buried in static, so weak that only Earth's best tech could pick it up. The message was ancient, old, the kind of thing that should have died with the stars that sent it. But it was still alive. It was a voice, or at least a form of communication, and it spoke one word: humanity. Talia Morrow sat in the war room. The screen in front of her glowed with the decoded message, each word sending shivers down her spine. "Can you trace it?" she asked. Technician, pale and shaking, nodded. "Yes, it's from the Zeta Sol system, but the signal's origin point, it's impossible. It's outside the galaxy." "Outside the galaxy?" Talia repeated, a cold feeling settling in her stomach. "That's right, ma'am, and it's coming from a dead space, a place where no stars live, a void." A silence fell over the room. The Council species around the table exchanged worried glances. A voice from the dark, calling humanity. It wasn't just a warning, it was an invitation. "Where's the Ghost Fleet now?" Talia asked, her voice flat. "Moving toward the edge of the galaxy, heading to the Zeta Sol system, and it's getting closer." Talia's eyes narrowed. "They're not going to the systems we expected. They're headed straight into the darkness." The message was clear. The Ghost Fleet wasn't just following old war patterns. They were heading to something specific, something that had been waiting for them, waiting for humanity. Meanwhile, in the blackness of space, the Ghost Fleet hovered in the void, its ships motionless in the nothingness. They had been waiting, learning. One ship, larger than the others, dropped from the main fleet. It sent out a pulse, and the surrounding ships responded, forming a tight formation. At the center of the formation was a massive ship, ancient and cold, pulsing with power. It was a ship from a time forgotten, the Devourer command ship, and inside, the hive mind, the core of the Ghost Fleet, spoke. It had learned much about humanity, the way they fought, the way they survived, but there was still something it didn't understand. Why hadn't humanity disappeared like the others? Why hadn't they been destroyed? The core spoke to the fleet. We will discover the truth. Back on Earth, preparations were underway. Humanity was ready for war, but something in Talia's heart felt different this time. This wasn't just about defeating an enemy. There was a mystery here. Something old, something that had been hidden. The warships were gathering. The battle plans were being finalized. But Talia knew they were facing something more than a war. Her mind drifted back to the message. That word, humanity. It was almost like they were being called. "Ma'am," a young officer spoke, breaking her thoughts. "A new signal just came in. It's not from the Ghost Fleet. It's a warning." Talia stood up, her heart racing. "A warning from who?" The officer hesitated before replying. "It says, 'Do not go. You are not ready.'" Talia frowned. "Ready for what?" The officer's voice faltered. "I don't know. It doesn't say." Talia turned to the screen. "Send everything we have to Zeta Sol, all ships, all fighters, now." As Earth's fleet made its jump to Zeta Sol, Talia stood still. She could feel it. Something in her bones. Whatever awaited them there was ancient, powerful, and it was waiting for humanity. Meanwhile, in the darkness beyond the galaxy, the vast, empty void stretched on forever, silent, waiting, and, deep within, something stirred. It was not alive in the way humans understood life. It was not a creature. It was an entity, ancient beyond measure. Its mind, its presence had once shaped the very stars themselves. It had watched the rise of the galaxy, the birth of civilizations, the death of others. But it had never forgotten humanity. It had never forgotten the humans who had survived the war against the Devourers. It had watched them become legends. And now, the time had come to see if they were truly worthy. "Humanity," the voice whispered in the void, a pulse of ancient power radiating out across the stars. "You have come. I have been waiting." The stars looked different in the Zeta Sol system. They didn't shine. They didn't twinkle. They just watched. The human fleet came out of jump space in perfect formation. Hundreds of sleek warships, silent and cold, spread across the darkness. Admiral Talia Morrow stood on the bridge of the flagship Valkyrie's Edge. Her eyes locked on the giant black planet ahead. No light, no movement, just a giant dead world floating in the dark. That was where the signal came from. "Anything on scans?" she asked. The bridge officer answered quietly. "Nothing. No heat, no life, no text signatures. Just silence." But the silence wasn't empty. Talia could feel it. Something was down there, watching them, waiting. Back in the council chambers, panic was growing. The Ghost Fleet had vanished again. No trace, no destruction, just gone. The council didn't know what to do. Most species had never seen war. Some didn't even have militaries anymore. Their only hope was humanity. But now even humanity had gone silent. One council member, a gray-skinned diplomat from the Valexi race, shouted, "We shouldn't have called them. They'll awaken the ancient threats." But no one had any answers. Only fear. Back at Zeta Sol, suddenly, every human ship's screen blinked, just once. Then a symbol appeared, a circle with 3 lines cutting through it. A symbol no one had seen for 1,000 years. "It's from the old war," Talia whispered. "That symbol. It marked the final enemy Earth faced before peace." Then a voice filled every ship. It was deep, slow, powerful. "You came. Humanity, the survivors, the evolved, the defiant." The entire fleet froze, weapons primed, shields up. "Who are you?" Talia demanded. "I am the first flame," the voice answered. "The one who watched your kind fight the void. You should have died, but you did not. You changed the course of time." "Why send the Ghost Fleet?" Talia asked, narrowing her eyes. That was not me. That was them, a forgotten branch of my own creation. Broken machines, cold minds. They feared what you are becoming. And what's that? She asked. More, the voice replied. More than machines, more than flesh. You are becoming something even I cannot predict. The black planet below began to glow, veins of red light pulsing through its surface. Slowly, a huge structure rose from its core, miles wide, shaped like a spear pointed at the stars. A weapon? A temple? No one knew, but something had awakened. On board. The Valkyrie's edge, Talia gripped the rail as the ship trembled. The voice continued. I called you here because the galaxy is changing again. War will return. And only one race has ever stared into the abyss and laughed. Humanity, Talia said, her voice steady. Yes, the voice answered. But now you must choose. Run from what's coming, or face it head on. What is coming? She asked. A pause. Then the voice said something that made every soldier's blood run cold. The real war. The one that never ended. The one hidden behind your 1,000 years of peace. Suddenly, alarms blared. A fleet had appeared on the edge of Zeta Sol. But it wasn't the Ghost Fleet. It was something new. Smaller ships. Faster. Darker. Almost alive. They moved like predators. And they were heading straight for the human fleet. Brace for contact, Talia shouted. All ships, defensive formation. The ships came in fast, dozens of them. No warning, no signal, just attack. The first blast hit the Valkyries, edge hard, but the humans fought back. Missiles launched, railguns roared. Fighters soared through space like angry wasps. It was war again. But something was different. These enemies didn't fight like machines. They didn't fear death. They enjoyed it. These aren't Ghost Fleet, Talia said. These are worse. The voice returned one last time, echoing through the chaos. The test has begun. Show me if your smile was true. Space turned red. Explosions lit up the void like angry stars. The human fleet, strong and disciplined, faced a new kind of enemy, fast, chaotic, and deadly. Admiral Talia Morrow stood firm on the bridge of Valkyrie's edge. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. All ships, hold the line, she ordered. Don't break formation. Make them come to us. The enemy ships moved like shadows, twisting and dodging every shot. They didn't follow any known tactics. They seemed to think like animals, wild, clever, and bloodthirsty. Human pilots were good, trained, brave, but even they were struggling. We've lost the Guardian Sun and Nova Tide, a crew member reported. Talia didn't flinch. Mark their last coordinates. We'll bring them back. Far below, the black planet glowed brighter. Lines of red light crawled across its surface like veins. Then, slowly, a massive door opened at its pole. From within, something stirred. Wasn't just a weapon, it was alive. Back on the bridge, sensors screamed. We've got movement on the planet's surface, the technician said, his voice tight. It's opening. A huge beam of energy shot out from the surface, up into space, but it didn't fire at anyone. Instead, it painted a symbol in the stars, that old circle with 3 lines through it, the same one that once marked humanity's greatest enemy. But this time, something was different. Around the circle, new lines formed, human letters. Ancient Earth script, Talia gasped. It's a message, she whispered. The words were simple. You passed. Suddenly, every enemy ship paused. Mid-attack, they stopped moving. Then, one by one, they turned and retreated, vanishing into the black like smoke. Silence returned to space. The battle was over, but no one cheered. No one smiled. What just happened? Talia asked. No one could answer. Then the voice returned, calm, deep, and powerful. You stood. You fought. You did. Not run, Talia responded. Was this a test? Yes, the voice said. The first of many. Long ago I created guardians. but they became too cruel. I needed something new, something human. You made the Ghost Fleet? She asked. I made the first ones, but not the ones who fell into madness. Then what are you? She demanded. Am the one who waits, the one who watches, the first flame. And now, I give you the truth. The stars above shifted. Holograms appeared, huge, floating across space. They showed ancient wars. Human ships centuries ago fighting monstrous machines, alien beasts, and things with no name. They showed Earth's last stand. Not against aliens, not against machines, but against time. Humanity hadn't gone silent because of fear. They had gone silent to prepare, to evolve, to become more. Inside the Valkyrie's edge, a quiet alarm blinked. A new signal, small, simple, but not from space, from Earth. The first direct signal from the homeworld in 600 years. Talia opened the message. A face appeared, old, kind, wise. Hello, Admiral. If you're seeing this, it means the test has begun. And I'm glad. We still remember how to smile. It was Elias Morrow, her great-grandfather, once thought dead. But now, the message continued, it's time to bring the others in. Time to wake up the deep ones. The ones who never left. The ones still sleeping beneath the core. Talia turned pale. She knew what that meant. Old Earth didn't just build ships. They built vaults, hidden beneath planets, with weapons, with minds, with humans who chose to sleep and wait. The message ended with one final line. War is back, but this time, we're ready. Talia stood tall. She looked at the stars, where enemies vanished, and where greater threats still waited. Then she smiled, just like the old warriors once did. The skies above Earth shimmered with strange light. Ships began to rise from the planet's surface, massive, ancient, and silent. They were not new, they were old, older than the Galactic Council, older than the enemy. These were the Deep Fleet, hidden for centuries beneath oceans, mountains, and ice, waiting for one signal. Now, they were awake. In the command room of the Valkyrie's Edge, Admiral Talia Morrow stood before the galactic leaders. The council had gathered again, shaken, broken, scared. What? What are those ships? Asked High Speaker Valine of the Sarathi. They're human, Talia said. They're the last defense, the oldest warriors, the ones who chose to sleep until they were truly needed. You mean they volunteered? Valine asked, shocked. Talia nodded. Yes. Long ago they saw the storm coming. They built the vaults and entered cryo-sleep. They didn't age. They didn't die. They waited. And now? Another alien? Leader asked. Now they fight. Far above, deep in space, the mysterious voice returned. You have passed the test. But this galaxy is only one among many. What do you mean? Talia asked. There are others, greater threats. Ancient enemies that wake every few thousand years. Machines, beasts, creatures from beyond the edge of time. You tested us for them? She asked. Yes. Humanity is the only one that can stand against them. Not because of strength alone, but because you refused to kneel. The council was stunned. So all this time, humanity wasn't just preparing for war. They were preparing to become the shield of the galaxy. The deep ones, those who had slept, were now awake across dozens of hidden worlds. Colonels, engineers, super soldiers, men and women with ancient implants, armor fused to their bones, minds upgraded beyond reason. Each one stepped out of their cryopods and looked up. Their mission was simple: protect life at any cost. Earth's signals spread fast. Across hidden colonies and forgotten moons, ancient bunkers opened. Humans stepped out, blinking in the light of strange new suns. But they didn't fear. They smiled, because they knew. It was time on the one. Outer edge of known space, something darker moved. Massive ships, shaped like spiders and thorns, crossed from the void. They didn't speak. They didn't warn. They just harvested. Planets disappeared in black clouds, but this time they weren't unchallenged. The deep fleet moved in silence. Then it struck. No hesitation, no mercy, no fear. Old human weapons thought lost to time. Burned like suns. Enemies fell in.